Hello and welcome to a book review of The Cross of Fire by Barry and Malzberg. This book was written in 1982 and was the second to last science fiction novel that Malzberg wrote. Currently, you know, he's still alive. He might write another one, who knows. But I was raised that you don't talk about religion or politics in mixed company, and considering I'm making this video for strangers on the internet, this is my warning to you that I will be talking about religion. Because the name of the book is The Cross of Fire. So if that's not something for you, or if that's something that's going to upset you, have a nice day. This is not the video for you. If you can tell from the tonality of my voice, if you've been here for a while, I did not like this book for a lot of reasons. Part of it is just I did not connect with it at all. Other than the one female character that was in... There's one female character in this book other than Mary Magdalene, which I don't really count. The main problem I have with the book is that this is viewed as a science fiction novel, and it just seems like this is someone who is railing against God and all of his many forms in the major religions, or just railing against organized religion at all, and decided that because of the fact that he's known as a science fiction author, he has to put this little science fiction veneer on top of it to get people to read it. Or because of the fact that, I don't know, they have publishing deals where you have to publish a certain number of books, and because he's well known as a science fiction author, he had to put this science fiction veneer on it in order to write this book. And the premise of this book is that you have Harold, who is a schizophrenic, which is only briefly mentioned at the beginning of the book, and is gone into treatments by the state in the year 2219 for his schizophrenia by going through psychotherapy and drugs, where he gets to replay religious figures of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity throughout history, including playing Jesus. And first of all, the beginning of the book starts out that way, and the way he's describing Harold in the beginning feels like he's conflating schizophrenia with dissociative identity disorder, which there are individuals that have both and there's overlap, but he didn't talk about DID at all in that, but he made it so Harold had a lot of characteristics of someone with DID. And, you know, DID has been around in medical text since 1952. So, I don't know. I know that it was more popular to... Not popular. It was more normative for someone to be diagnosed as schizophrenic than with DID, as well as the treatments then. So that threw me off, first of all. Second of all, he kept having to remind people that this was supposed to be science fiction just because there was so much religion in this book. And it doesn't really follow a coherent path. Like, it keeps skipping both into his psychotherapy in the different religions, where he's Moses, he's Jonah, he's Job, he's Jesus, he's Moses, he's some rabbi in Brune something faith. It keeps going back and forth between these different religious figures throughout all of time, and then also into his past with this partner that the state has given him or assigned him called Edna, and then to the present of him going through these treatments, and then to the beginning, like the future later on in the book. And by future I mean like as he's going through this psychotherapy process. The whole time I just feel really bad for Edna. the whole because, you know, I've been that girl with a lot of trauma, past trauma, being like, I can fix him, and so it was a little bit of self-identifying there, where I've been that girl, and she seemed to really care about this individual before he decided to sign him up for this therapy. And due to the therapy, that relationship fell apart. So that's really the only character in this whole book that I felt anything for. which, you know, fair. But as someone who was not raised in a religion at all, or, you know, I feel like maybe someone who was raised in one of these religions and has since fallen out with that religion might get more from this book than I did. My only experience with any of these religions has been in college when I'm studying them for a philosophy minor. So, or, you know, having a sleepover at a friend's house when I was a child and then having to go with them to church because their family was religious, but it was just I had to get up early and sit for an hour and wait till it was over and then we could go back to playing. So for me, it was just a lot of reading about stuff that I have read about in text, but from a secular position. Like, I always observe religion in a secular position, so this was just a more secular position where it just sounded like someone who just doesn't like organized religion is just decided to write a book that's way too long about how much they don't like organized religion, with a very with like the scaffolding, very rickety scaffolding of a science fiction novel around it. And it's just very long, despite it being like 168 pages. It was at least 100 pages too long. I just did not enjoy it at all. It just, the science fiction part didn't seem very good or compelling. The religious part, as someone who didn't grow up with religion and has only secularly studied aspects of it, is also not compelling or interesting to me. And the conclusion was just, it just kind of happened. Like, the ending is just kind of like, I didn't understand the ending, actually, to be honest. It just kind of stopped. They just kind of stopped writing. It was weird. It is weird. This book is weird, and not in a good way. It's not in a thought-provoking way. Again, it's not a thought-provoking way for me. I'm trying to make that clear, because I have no historical or personal connection to any of these faiths or organized religion as a whole, other than I'm not interested in it, and I've never been interested in it. This was just an exercise in tedium for me, and I know that there are other better Barry Malzberg books. I have one. I have come across a few of them, and I will try to read more from him, but this was not a great experience for me personally. I do not recommend this unless, again, you're someone who's fallen out of favor with your faith and would like a loosely science fiction-y book about it. I'm just also very confused because Gregory Benford was like, it's a novel that turns the reader every which way, inventive, funny, and intriguing. I didn't laugh at all. There's nothing funny about this book. It's very descriptive, and the torture that these prophets went through, as well as, you know, the actual crucifixion of Jesus. I didn't find humor in any of that. It was just like, this is torturous and sad. And I don't know what Gregory Benford found funny in this. I feel like if you want a funny religious book, you'd be better served reading Good Omens. Much more enjoyable experience, in my personal opinion. You get loosely the same telling of a lot of the stories from a secular perspective, but at least it's entertaining and it's more character driven. Maybe that's what my problem is with this, is that the main character's name is Harold, but because he's so disassociative in all these other identities due to this therapy that he's undergoing, like, he doesn't view himself as Harold, and then later on he gets called something else. And again, like I said, the only character that seemed compelling to me at all was Edna, who was just a sad, tragic, little love-stricken woman. And I normally don't like stories that are concept-driven instead of character-driven. I have a harder time reading them, and maybe that was my fallacy here, but this is a book that exists. It might be for you, but it was not for me by all of the last 10 minutes that I talked about it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.